Well, with so many marketing platforms out there, with LinkedIn, now with Clubhouse, with Twitter Space, it can be so confusing about where is the best place to market your business, where and how you should use your time. And that's why I'm bringing on our marketing expert, James Lam, who's going to be joining us today to discuss whether or not killing marketing speak could be the best thing for your business. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Tanya. It's good to be here.
My total pleasure. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tanya Target Camacho. I'm a former investigative news journalist turned video media and speaking coach. But James, this is all about you, and we're going to be really diving into what's working in marketing and the best way for us to position ourselves, get seen, get heard above the noise. Now, just quickly, I know that you've been really successful in your business. You've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. You had a national business, but I think you're in 10 cities. But of course, it wasn't always that successful. Could you share a little bit of that backstory with us?
Yeah, sure. I don't know how to say this. The short answer is I have failed more times than you can believe. So I've been an entrepreneur for about 10 years and I left the corporate world. I don't know if any of you can relate to this by saying, to hell with this, I can do this better. And I know a number of you are probably like nodding your head saying the same thing. So I went through a number of different things. For example, we had a national photography teaching company, which we still have. That's a company in 10 locations that honestly COVID has squashed, which might be the best thing because now we are online and we're more profitable. We have made a franchise out of that a number of years ago. And recently I had a digital marketing agency. And so, what I'm doing now is I've taken all the lessons that I've learned in those elements and I've put them into look ahead marketing. Now, look ahead marketing, essentially, I do work with 5-figure entrepreneurs, like especially coaches, consultants, healers, authors, those people with a really important message to get out to the world. And we take them through what their superpower, what their quote unquote superpowers, which we'll talk about, Tanya, how to wrap the messaging around that, and then get it into the world that is congruent with who they are and what they do. And that's what I love doing. Yeah.
But before we look ahead and before we do all the warm, cozy, fuzzy, fun stuff, when you look back and you say you made some of those marketing mistakes, is there one that still to this day makes you cringe when you think about it that you'd rather not share with us?
Hold on, let me just go through my Rolodex of challenge that we've had. There's so many of them. From not having a strong business partner to investing in things that honestly I didn't do. There's a couple that really stand out, and let me see if this resonates with your viewers. So one of them was purely operational, like Learn Photography Canada, which again is still around. It's now started as Learn Photography Alberta, then Canada, and now company. So you can see we're getting bigger and bigger, which is a great problem to have. And one of the first things I did way back when we started, we weren't making any money, but I wanted to be the top of the heap, right? Like I wanted to be the number one thing and the money would be raining down. And so I invested in search engine optimization, SEO, for those of you who are in the know. And I didn't invest a couple $100. I invested $2,500 a month in SEO, and I wasn't making anything at all. And of course they're like, yeah, we can absolutely put you up top. And that was one of those hallmark problems that I discovered, is that even though they are experts, even though they claim to know what they do, sometimes they do not know what they are doing. And in fact, the interesting thing, and probably one of the best mistakes we ever had, would we actually, how Google for a while was releasing like cute animal name releases, like I think it was penguin or panda, and or polar bear. I don't remember which one it was, but it was one of the releases. We were dropped to page 65 and nobody could find us. So the irony is that instead of going up in ranking, we actually flat bottomed out. But it forced us to do a bunch of things that were uncomfortable, like join networking, start looking at how people interact on our page, start doing the things that are really, really important that I bring forward now. So that is one of the biggest failures that I have.
Yes. Well, I mean, when I was reading about you and reading your bio and whatnot, and I think it's important to share because a lot of entrepreneurs, and I can certainly relate to this, right? Like, how many mistakes you want to go through, right, that we've made. It is part of the entrepreneurial journey. And the fastest way to success, of course, is to find someone who's already done that path and learn from them and not have to go and repeat those mistakes. But I know that you spend a lot of money on bringing consultants in who promised the world and didn't deliver. And guys, if you can relate to any of this, I'd love for you to drop into the comments. Are you watching this live? If you're watching the replay, just let us know, live or replay. And if you haven't given StreamYard permission, if you could just pop your name in too, so that we can personalize any responses or any answers James might have to some questions for you. But you talk about bringing those consultants in, promise the world, don't deliver. I know that at one point you were trading time for money too. Yes. And then you started to, and I know this is your specialty, you started to discover, listen to the superhero, the super voice. Like, how did you do that? Were you like meditating on a hill, like a mountain? Like, where did this come through?
Well, it could have been.
Because what even is it for those who haven't been introduced to this before?
Yes, and I'm trying to think about the short story here. Essentially, let's start with what it is. Your superpower in entrepreneurial terms is the reason why someone wants to work with you. Period. Okay, so everything that I do, everything that I teach, the truth is you can find it online for free. And that is the honest to goodness truth. But people pay you money for a reason, right? And that's the same thing, whether you're a marketer, whether you do what I do, whether you're an educator, like people can always find all these answers online for free. They don't have to pay you. But your superpower is why they trust you, because they think you can bridge that gap, right? That essentially is your superpower. So, look, for me, for a lot of times, and this is the truth, I was so desperate for success. I did everything. And Tanya, I know you're in the background, and for a team out there, like I could outwork anybody, period. And I still can, right? I choose not to, but I still can. So, and work ethic was never the problem, because we always talk about outwork it, like work harder, like, and sometimes that's not the problem. Sometimes the problem is that you weren't working on your gifts, because we tend to focus on the negative, right? And so it took me like 10 years to figure out what my superpower is and build this product, Tanya, in the end. In the end, it was kind of, there were a couple of people around, like a mastermind, like what you're running, and they're like, this is what you're really good at. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. And the funny thing here, and you will appreciate the humor here, is that sense of internal validations come from external validations. And that's what I teach in my course, oddly enough, right? It's when people are like, you are really, really good at this. And we're like, really? And there's 16 heads on Zoom, like saying, yes, you're really good at it. And that's when you discover a lot of times what your gifts are. So what I'm trying to say...
Oh, James, I was going to ask, well, what do you think about this? One of the things that I love to share with my people, and I certainly, this was me, is that the greatest value that you have to sell, right, is that which you give away for free. So that which you don't value because it comes so naturally to you is that which you could actually market very profitably and very successfully, but you dismiss it. So when everyone's on Zoom saying, oh, you should do this, you're kind of thinking, but doesn't everybody else know that?
Yes.
No,
and
they
we
don't.
tend to, like, as you said, the key word there was undervaluing. And this is what a lot of the people I work with, right? They're really amazing coaches. Some of them are in the spiritual realm. Some of them are in the business realm. Some of them are in the mindset realm, whatever it is. And what do, Tanya? They undervalue themselves. So they tend to give away their stuff for free. And when we give away our stuff for free, we get stuck in scarcity, and we get stuck in serving people that, well, honestly, don't respect you enough to pay you. And that sucks.
Yeah. So finding your superhero, and I think that can be a real challenge for people. Do you have a process for helping people find that? Because then there's also I think there's this very natural humbleness. I know you work with heart-centered, purpose-driven entrepreneurs, as do I. And so there's this kind of not wanting to say, hey, I'm great at this. So do you have a process for bringing that out?
I do. And this is one of the coolest things. So the interesting thing is when people come into my class, right? And there's going to be an invitation. There's an invitation 3 times a year. We are just on the cusp of it. It's called Superpowered Business Success. And this is the very first thing we do is find out what our superpower is. Now, the number of people who come in and be like, I know what my superpower is. I don't really need this. And it's interesting because what we finish with is never what we start with. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to flag this. Passion is not a superpower. Okay. It is more important than that. So I'm going to give you a story. So there is a process involved, because you asked about the process. And one of the steps that we take is to find people who know us really well in business. And we call them up and we say, hey, what do I do that's really unique? Hey, what do I do that's better than anybody else in my field? And this is a very, very
this is interesting.
Right?
So so instead of doing like an avatar interview, so for those of you guys who aren't familiar with that, it's where you ring up people who would be your ideal customer and you ask them what wakes them up or keeps them up at night and get their struggles. Now you're actually ringing people up to try to find out what your superpower is. So you're using your ideal audience to unleash what you might not see. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is so simple. And you know, there's a couple of things that come of it. And I want to tell a story for this. So we have an accountant in Calgary who went through this process. And when you think about accountants, what do you think about? Like timeliness, accuracy, and God forbid I get audited, right?
I was thinking boring, actually, but anyway.
Well, the interesting thing is, but these are the things that accountants have been trained to say all the time. These are the things that accountants have been bred to believe is important when finding business and when marketing themselves. And this person went out and called a bunch of people, and do you know what they all said? They all said, we really love you because you have your heart in the right place and we know you're going to do the right thing. And imagine how someone's demeanor changes when they hear, I am not just another accountant. I am not just another person that, like, come April, I am like panicked and my hair is on fire, right? Like, I am somebody that can be trusted to do the right thing. And through the course, like, his entire demeanor changed. And now we're looking at changing his, quite frankly, boring like pamphlets and brochures and like product and website into something that actually speaks about him.
And I could see how powerful that would be too, because like you could really play with that verbiage, you know, not only is he going to do the right thing, but that it's safe to share what you don't want others to see. Like, you know, that he's the person who, you know, he keeps financial secrets for a living, and what you hide from everybody else, even your closest partner, you can trust with me, and I'm going to help you get out of it, or I'm going to help you, you know, whatever. So I could, that changes everything. That changes all of your marketing speak, which is what we want to talk about. So could you, in your opinion, because I was thinking about this, and marketing speak, you know, there are so many voices out there and there's so much pressure to be marketing. A lot of voices become what I call beige. They kind of just get lost among a sea of voices. So how do you define the marketing speak which is what we want to get away from, and then what you want to do?
Marketing speak is, quite frankly, dry, boring, and ironically enough, pushes the people away when it should be bringing them in. And
cheesy too.
And so cheesy. And, you know, the number of people who you speak to, and you will recognize this immediately. What do? Oh, I have a proprietary system that's da-da-da-da. And you're like, oh God, here we go, right? And by the way, secret tip for everybody on this call, because I just went through this. If somebody is on a Zoom call with you and they say, can I share a few slides? You say, hell no, right? You say right away from that. But this marketing speak has been taken over so much, because what happens as entrepreneurs, and look, if you are new or you are starting or you are not yet profitably, like consistently profitable, like I get it, like it's a crappy place, full on. And one of the challenges that we have, team, is that we are taught when we fail to up level and learn, which we do, which is amazing, but then we lose ourselves and we think that we are the problem. And so when we choose marketing speak, we dial a lot of ourselves out of this. Let me ask you this question. And I deal with, like I said, with a lot of heart-centered entrepreneurs, a lot of life coaches. If you are a life coach, you have quite possibly one of the most valuable keys in the world to make somebody happy. How much is that worth? And yet, and the reason why they want to work with you is because your personality, because you make them feel good, because you make them feel safe. And we strip all of that personality out with generic marketing talk that anybody can provide. And when that happens, you become a commodity item, and you end up losing, you end up losing any, you have competition now, because you're a life coach, just like that person, just like that person, just like that person. Right? When we begin to rock who we are, when we begin to use the words that reflect us, not only are we going to attract the right people that are for us, but we feel good about it too, right?
But do you think that this is the problem, right? So I fall into the non-beige, right? You either get my sense of humor or you don't, and I'm totally fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people who are new to business or maybe pivoting into a new industry are worried that if they do share their authentic voice, that they might get rejected, and so it's safer to be beige and to fit in. Do you feel that there is a rejection play at part? And then what would your answer to that be? Because if they're rejecting you, they're probably not your ideal audience anyway. But what do you think, James? That's your area of expertise.
That's an excellent question, and you are definitely not the color beige, for the record. Okay, now
thank you.
The answer is yes and yes, right? And this is one of the challenges: is when we launch our product, we are shy about it. Like, period. Like, that is just what it is, right? And so this is interesting that you say that, because that is actually we just
well,
created...
it's part of us, isn't it? It's like it's not like you're selling someone else's product. So if they say no thanks, I don't want any fries today, you're not insulted because you didn't make the fries, but you made this product. So if you sort of go out there and you talk about it and people go no thank you, it can be wounding.
Well, and on top of that, we are looking for external validation all the time when we first start something. And the minute someone says no, or the minute someone says you don't really know what you're talking about, it's like a knife to the heart, right? This is the reason why we like degrees. Degrees give us this external validation that we know stuff. This is the reason why we like awards, because awards do the same thing, right? I think one of the greatest successes I have on this course is somebody who is on it, and she has such an important, and I just want to give a shout out to her, Stephanie Witterstrand. She has worked her butt off this time. And
hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie. And the reason why I want to give her a shout out is because in the beginning, she felt uncomfortable and a lot of imposter syndrome on who she was. Because she was, someone told her she was supposed to coach children with autism, right? And that is and she's like, I don't have degrees in this. I don't have a medical, like, I don't even have and then so we actually changed it. So now, and so she was scared to put herself out. Now we have it changed, and this is coming from her superpower. Now we have it changed so that she works with parents of children with autism. And that little change makes such a big difference because she's lived it for the past 13 years. I love that. That is experience, right? And so it is really, but when you first start, of course, you have imposter syndrome. It's interesting because the freebie that you have at the end, that is exactly what we talk about here.
I do have a freebie.
That's exactly what we talk about here. So it's the 5 stages of showing up online more powerfully. Okay. And the first one is the curator. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, I'm going to pull all these interesting articles that are in my field so people know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say anything about them because I'm worried about what people are thinking. Does that make sense? And then we move up the ladder with our ideas and our opinions. And in the beginning, our ideas are quite beige, right? So as we go up and in confidence and in expertise, without external validation, we bring more to the world. And that's a creation process.
Yeah, I love that. And so we talk about, there are so many tools out there, and I'm going to flag this. We're not going to discuss this right now, but very, very soon. I want to get your opinion on Clubhouse, right? But so guys, you have to keep watching to get that interesting discussion, I'm sure, on Clubhouse. But there are so many platforms out there, and people feel that they need to do so many tools. How do you know which ones that you should be using in your business?
That is an excellent question. And the short answer is it depends on you, it depends on your business, it depends on your superpower. Those 3 things, okay? There is no simple answer to this. And how do I phrase this?
So it keeps also coming back to that superpower. That's really important, James. It's kind of like the foundation of the house. If you don't have that superpower truly, and I see this too, people think they know what it is, and we're so close to it, and someone comes in and they tweak something, and now it's really a superpower. And so what you're saying is it really comes back to that, making sure that that's it's unique and authentic and truly your greatest superpower.
Let me put it this way. I'm going to put it 2 ways. Okay. I hope this works for your audience. What happens as entrepreneurs is in the beginning, we do not have enough business. And even some of you who are years on, you still don't have enough business, right? And so what do? We tend to be like, oh, the missing link is more emails, Instagram, Facebook, Clubhouse. Like we tend to add instead of sinking into what we already have. And when you add things, you end up like doing this wide, like you are spread really thin. And so you do not do things intentionally. And so whatever it is that makes the most sense, that's where you have to lean into, right? We tend to add instead of leaning into things that are actually working, but we don't know things are working because we don't give them the intentionality and the time of day and the budget to do it with, right? Does that make sense what I'm saying, Tanya?
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
With that being said, one of the things that we do that we're taught in grade school is to concentrate on our failures. Right? It's a silly thing. You get 5 A pluses and a B minus. What do you focus on? You're focusing on the B minus. That's just what we do. And so what happens in marketing is we're like, okay, I am rocking Clubhouse, which is amazing, but I haven't posted on Facebook forever. So what am I going to do? Am I going to get more clients on Clubhouse? No, I'm going to spend time on Facebook because it's a dead platform. I need to revive it. And this is one of the silliest things that we do. And I know when I'm talking to you, whoever is listening, I know you're like this. You're like, yeah, I totally do that. And I know I do that. And that's okay because that is human nature and that's how we have been conditioned. Now, what I teach people and take this away for you, right? Just sink into what's going to work for you, team. If you're outgoing and you're awesome like Tanya, you're going to do a bunch of these StreamYards. You're going to do a bunch of these StreamYards. You're going to do a bunch of these Facebook Lives. You are going to be in front of the camera because that is your strong point, right? And I know I coached somebody who was like, she's awesome. James, I don't want to do Facebook Lives. Then don't do Facebook Lives. Yeah, but I should. Why should you do Facebook Lives if you don't want to? There are so many other ways to get your name out there. There's like 100 different ways to market. You can LinkedIn, Facebook communities, Facebook ads, like JV partners, like affiliates, like there's Instagram, like organic and paid. There's so many different ways. You do not have to do something you do not want to do, right? With that being said, we force ourselves because we, like I said before, with the A pluses and the B minus, we believe that success, you have to struggle through it. And that is just like patently, like totally untrue. Does that make sense, Tanya?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think part of it also is, and keen to get your opinion on this too. I think part of it is that a couple of things, right? You're as you might be starting in your business, or you might be going to the next level in your business, and so that's uncomfortable, and so it can be convenient to do a whole heap of distracting marketing exercises so that you're not actually doing what you should. Yes. The bolder moving stuff in your business.
Yes, and this is so I am going to what Tanya says is absolutely 100% correct. We tend to distract ourselves when it gets tough. And we tend to, the number of people, how do I say that nicely? The number of people who are building programs and stuff and spending months on building this program without figuring out how to sell it is killing me. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying don't be prepared. I'm saying make sure this is something that your people want before you invest all this time in, before, like, run a beta test. Go out there and say, look, I don't know really what I'm doing. This is what I think I'm going to do. You've been following me for a long time. Do you want to take a chance on me? It's $197. And people are like, yes, I will take a chance on you, right? Rather than spending months and months on building stuff and then launching, be like, well, I wasn't right. You just waste, time is one thing you cannot get back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
No, you're right. It was interesting. I mean, when I first launched online, I did a full video launch, and I would never do it that way again. I did move really quickly. Like, I managed to put it all together in a ridiculous amount of time. And I was lucky in that I had proof of product from selling from stage, but I needed to turn it into the video. And if when I was asking, like, mistakes that you made in the past, knowing what I know now, having launched many times, I would never have done a 4-part video launch with all the expense of all that video and all that team and all that pressure for literally just doing what you said, James, is putting together a beta program, giving a couple of people a tap on the shoulders, offering it at a really great price, getting some feedback and building it as you deliver it.
Yes.
It's a fantastic way to move forward in your marketing and, of course, move forward and bring in revenue in your business.
Yep. And like if you're new, that is one of the top strategies I would suggest. Forget the funnels, forget the emails, forget the follow-up, forget the launch. Like just ask people who owe you, and you have earned the right to ask them. And there are going to be those people. Just ask them to join you on this journey, and you will be surprised at how many people say yes. So another person that, and I want to give a shout out to the person, Sherelle Morris. I think you know Sherelle as well, right? Sherelle Morris has been.
I'm not sure if I know Sherelle, but hello, Sherelle.
She's awesome. So Sherelle has been putting up not a lot of good numbers in the past few months, and we did this one thing. We did the Founders Club, which I think you understand what it is, which is basically what Tanya and I are talking about, right? Just asking people to join. She closed $6,000 in 24 hours.
Wow.
After pulling up mulligans,
fantastic.
for months and months and months and months, right? That is amazing. And that is the power of the ask. And yes, I know we're getting off topic, but this is so
I don't know what mulligans
understand.
are. Is that a Canadian thing?
I think it's a Canadian. I should be using, that's a beaver. Right?
Is that like a potato? I was thinking, is a mulligan a potato? Like, I don't know what that is.
Next time, that should be the title of this talk, okay? What is a mulligan?
That's right. But, when you're pulling up potatoes.
Exactly. But that is still marketing and sales.
Yes.
We tend to feel like it has to be complicated. If you're in the joint venture affiliate community, like people are talking about funnels and they're talking about $1 million funnels, and you're like, I want a piece of that. And we tend to build like it's linear, but sometimes just ask people to join you. And I did this. And I think, again, I'm not doing this to show off, right? But just like you, I did this a few months ago, and I scored $8,000 in 24 hours, and I send out PayPal invoices, and that's how simple it was.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and I can feel the collective tightening of tummies as people watch this and go, you mean I could go and launch something tomorrow without building a funnel? And yeah, you could.
Yes.
You literally could. And I think that that's really exciting too.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. We use funnels as an excuse to do the really hard work. And I'm going to bring it back to the superpower. If you have something of value, which I guarantee you absolutely do. If you're a life coach, you change lives. If you're a marketer, you make sure that people have constant money, right? If you're a spiritual coach, you will get people out of their anxiety day to day. How much is that actually worth? And by the way, it's a ton of money. So please stop selling yourself short.
And we were just saying, James, I had another question. I was just thinking while you're talking about that in terms of coaching. Forgive me, it's gone. It'll come back.
This is why I just throw you off course, Tanya.
It's all good. It's all good. It's social media, and nothing has to be perfect, right? Oh, I know what I was going to say now. Yeah. You and I both have experienced, online launches. I've done multiple launches, multiple webinar, full part video, this, that, masterclass, this, that. And then just what you said, I mean, brand new product that I've been in the process of releasing, and I just did a PDF document and little tap on the shoulder, and you move forward that way, and then you get that feedback and you're off and running. But speaking of feedback, Clubhouse, what's your opinion on Clubhouse? And are you on it? I'm not.
Okay.
There's been a lot of I'm very comfortable in my decision, James.
Okay.
I'm not seeking validation.
If we hang out on Clubhouse, I will buy you an iPhone, and we can hang out on Clubhouse. That's how I'm going to get valuable information. So for those of you who don't know, Clubhouse essentially is the new social media where you hang out with people who you don't know, and it's audio only. So you go into rooms and there's usually a topic of discussion. That essentially is what Clubhouse is. Some rooms goes on for hours, some rooms stay open for half an hour. Okay. With that being said, people are using Clubhouse as a medium to get sales. Okay. Clubhouse is a way to it's tied into your Instagram and or Twitter. And so when people hear you speak about things, they go on and download your lead magnet and you get part of the email list. And a lot of people are actually directly selling on there. I hate Clubhouse. Sorry, I have to tell you, I don't love it for a couple of reasons. Okay, one of them is because it is not a platform conducive to finding new people unless you are massively followed already. So Tanya, you will probably do better than me because you have a bigger crowd, which is awesome, right? Someone like Amy Porterfield, who I follow, she goes on Clubhouse and she gets thousands of people listening to her. Then she goes into a room together with Grant Cardone, who has thousands of people listening to it, and then with Jeff Walker, and all of a sudden, like, it is the greatest email swap medium ever known to humankind. And that's the truth, right? But for myself, when I go in there, I don't get a lot of people. Like, there's dribs and drabs, and you are always so. The funny thing is you get all these people to join you in a room because you want people to listen to you, and then you have to compete for space in that room. And it feels a lot very academic. You cannot just have a conversation and say, I agree, right? You have to be the smartest one in the room. You have to be the one that's like, oh yeah, like well, I think that is this and this and this. And that to me kind of kills the community feel. Again, I have been wrong, and I'm sure it's perfect for some people. And the printer just came on, which is that sound in the background. This is my opinion only. Some people love it. Some people are just making a killing on it. I am not, and maybe it's because I'm old and decrepit, and who knows. So there you go.
I don't think you're not old and decrepit, that's for sure. I mean, I've got private clients that are absolutely killing it on Clubhouse, and they've said to me, and I get all these invitations, and in the beginning, I felt a real kind of wrestle, and I tried to get my really old iPad to update so I could go on and just check it out. The question for me is, if I join, am I going to have time to listen? And I barely have time to listen to some of my favorite podcasts. So that was a bit of a decider. And then I think, and this is important, because in marketing, you kind of look at, well, what am I doing now and what's already working for me? Like, as you know, and for those who don't know me, like I speak a lot, like I sell from stage. And at the moment, that means webinars and being a guest on someone else's webinar. And that works very, very well for me. So why would I then go and add something else that I haven't done yet, which is great if I have the time to investigate. But if I don't have the time, sticking to the things that are working for me, not saying that we shouldn't be trying out new platforms, because I'm all about innovation. But you have to pick and choose your timing. Otherwise, that's when you become one of those entrepreneurs that gets spread very, very thin.
Yes, and we're seeing a lot of that. So one of the reasons why a lot of people are entrepreneurs is because you want to stop trading time for money, right? You want to stop being that hourly person that speaks. Clubhouse is essentially that. You're going back to time for money, because the more time you spend in Clubhouse, the more people are going to join you, the more people who are going to buy your stuff. So again, Tanya, I have been wrong before. Like, I can understand the reason why the really big people do it, because there are thousands of people there who want your free stuff. You can build credibility right away, right away. And but Clubhouse, for the smaller people, you're talking like 3 people an hour. 3 people an hour to join you. It's just not scalable. I just don't see it as, my superpower business success. I had 18 people on. I wanted to get to like 500. I do. That's what I want, right?
No, sorry, James.
I was going to say 500, and I will not get there in Clubhouse.
Yeah. So, guys, if you have a question for James, please do share that with us. And I'll get James to answer that. Please put it in the comments, and so we have a little clap in there. Is that clap about not doing Clubhouse? Give someone else permission not to do it.
I have never seen a social platform that has so it feels like US politics right now. Like, you're either here, or sorry, let me put it back here. You're either here or you're here. Like, there's no in between. You either love Clubhouse or you hate Clubhouse, and that's the reality.
Yeah, I'm resisting peer group pressure, but that's certainly not the first time, and it will not be the last time. And I'm totally down with that. Just before you share what you have, because I know you've got some very, very cool free stuff. I'm going to share a wonderful gift that you have, going through some of the process that James was talking about before, and James will get you to speak to that in just a moment. I would love for you to touch on my favorite topic, which is story. How much of your marketing speak should have a story component? And do you think story is important? And if you say no, I'm going to end the call right now.
Story is hugely important. And that's the truth. And I'm not just saying that because you're going to end the call.
No,
story is massively important. So I'm going to coach people and tell a story at the same time. Some of you are struggling in your business. And I have been there. Like, it sucks. And I know, I'm getting all emotional now. I know that you cannot outwork the problem. And there is no end in sight. And sometimes it feels like you are just waking up and doing work just for the sake of waking up and doing work. There is a reason why this is here. And normally that is your inspiration for the product you are going to create. You cannot talk, especially if you're a coach, author, or speaker, you cannot talk and inspire somebody unless you have actually been there. And that's the reason why I think story is so important. We tend to sell on features, we sell on benefits, we sell on pricing. We should actually sell on, I've been there and it sucks and I know it is. And by the way, I kind of like you and you kind of like me. Let's do business. And that is essentially what I am talking about. And that's the leap of faith that people have to have before they buy your product. A lot of times, yes, we do need to show our expertise. Yes, we do need to have like marketing copy once in a while. But more than anything else, it's that story and the belief that you can help me that drives that emotion to buy whatever you're selling. And that is so important. And that's why I'm telling you to put your superhero power back, put your personality back into your copy. Tell people why you do what you do, because that is so important for everything that we do.
Do you find that people struggle with which parts of their story to share? And if you do, how do you help them overcome that?
Two answers. Yes, they do struggle with it because they're embarrassed. Okay, we talk about imposter syndrome. Everybody who starts in business, like, I don't know why the corporate world does this, but we go from success to success to success, and we never make any mistakes. And that seems to be like what they say, even though everybody makes mistakes all the time, and no one's allowed to learn from those mistakes. As small business owners, as entrepreneurs, as inspiring people, it's different, and we need to own that. And that's what part of what I teach them. I say to them, that is a really important part because people understand where you're coming from. And it's okay that you failed. In fact, it's better if you say that. Like, the minute it's really weird. Like, in my workshop that I'm launching next week, which, by the way, if you're watching, you should absolutely join because it's awesome and you actually do work in that workshop. But when I say I lost thousands of dollars with this SEO thing, which is what we talked about, people are like, "You lost thousands of dollars?" I'm like, yes. That is the reason why I do what I do. And that is the reason why I know where you're sitting, and it sucks. If I had all the success in the world, no one would care. Does that make sense, Tanya?
Yeah. And what about, sharing your story, it's about choosing those right sound bites, right? I talk about the Goldilocks formula of not too much, right? You want the just right amount of vulnerability. And a big part, of course, is making sure you've healed. Like, if you're a life coach, like I was working with a lady, most incredible story, survived breast cancer, then survived brain cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And she's a life coach. So
yes.
I just kept thinking about her. Her name's Bridget. I just kept thinking about her every time you were talking about superhero powers, because she shared elements of our story, which were powerful, but not quite the right ones until, obviously, she learned which ones to pick. What's your formula, your Goldilocks formula, to dive in there and help them choose the right pieces? Because, I always say that, and you talked about it too, everything that you teach, you guys can go and find it online, right? I would debate that, James. I think you've got more than all the free stuff that's out there, I've just got to say. But the truth is that you're not the only person in marketing, right? I'm not the only person in speaking, video, PR. But we speak a unique language, and there is someone waiting out there to hear what only we have to say in our unique voice. And what makes one person resonate where they don't, the only one thing that is unique to us, because we might have all trained with Jeff Walker or Grant Cardone, if that's your thing.
Yeah.
Is our story. The one thing that no one else has, that no one can get from training with even the same coach, is our story. But how do you help your students and private clients have permission to share that story? And then how do you help them find that sweet spot, that sweet marketing spot?
That is an excellent question. I'm going to answer it in a roundabout kind of way. So the answer is, it depends. Okay. I do know that you will own your story when you celebrate it as a learning experience, not as a turning the corner. There's a really big difference. So the number of people I see who say like, yeah, I was really down in the dumps, but the warrior I came up. That is not owning your story. Okay. That is using somebody else. Like, that is using other imagery to put it forward. And somehow there needs to be just, how about this to answer your question, Tanya? When you tell your story, there has to be a natural point where there is a break. Like that, right? I failed and I lost thousands of dollars. Period. Next line, right?
Course,
versus like, I lost thousands of dollars and the warrior I am decided to keep on going and keep on. Like, no one wants to hear that. Everybody needs to know that you fail, because that is an important part of what you do, right? It's kind of, this seems oddly fitting. It is kind of like an apology, right? Like Rachel Hollis really, I don't know, I'm sure Tanya's watching this, but Rachel Hollis really, browned the bed the other day, right? She, and her apology wasn't full. And I think it's a lot like her story. You have to be able to own it yourself and talk about your flaws, and then you can move on from that breath of fresh air. I don't know if that answered or not, Tanya, but that is essentially what my thoughts are around that.
Oh, I love that. Now, you mentioned your workshops. So that's what I was doing. I was trying to grab your URL for your workshop so people could go along and join. So can you tell us about what you've got coming up? Because this is free, and you guys can go and hang out and spend a little bit more time with James and start to uncover some of those superhero powers. Totally.
By the way, that workshop is completely free. I will tell you right now, there is an opportunity to work with me at the end if you think it's right. And there's usually only 8 to 11 people who attend this workshop. So we actually sit down and I will talk you through 3 specific things focused on you. So one of them is, I have to remember these. One of them is finding the right community for you, because I will tell you this much, team, most community is not right for you. And I will tell you from that community how to get what you want. The next thing is, I am going to guarantee you, we're going to do the first line of your bio, and it's going to be awesome. And it is going to reflect your superpower. And it's going to be so unique that people have to lean in. We are going to get that done. And the third one is, I'm going to reflect back what marketing you should use. Like we're going to focus in a couple marketing points, which is what we talked about, Tanya. Like, people have too much marketing stuff, which is the truth. And we are going to go and do that. And I'm going to actually give you a personal recommendation on what type of marketing you need to move your business forward.
Wow. That sounds very customized for a group workshop.
It is. Well, there's normally only 8 or 11. Now, if there's 200 people, I won't be able to do it all, right? But for 8 or 11 people, yeah, absolutely join in. Like, come join. And one of the things, and here's something, and you would appreciate this, Tanya. One of the differences in people moving up in business is the ability to say yes to yourself, right? The number, and I'll give you an example. Like Sherelle just closed $6,000. Stephanie has like this amazing new product where she is crushing. By the way, that's the conference for parents with children with autism, because they said yes to themselves and they invested. And people, Tanya, people who work with you, Tanya, have the same privilege. And when you say yes to yourself, like this workshop, that is an opportunity to grow yourself, which is inevitably going to grow your business. Right. And that is the truth. The number of people I try to take with me, I'm like, look, man, you are perfect for this product. I really want you to join. And they're like, nah. And a year later, they are stuck in exactly the same spot. Do not be stuck. Figure out how you're going to up-level yourself. Figure out how you're going to rock this, because I know you got it. I know you got this. Awesome.
Fantastic. So go and register for that. And then we have another gift as well. James, can you tell us about that?
Yes. So this is the original one. This is...
I know, I'm spicing. I just dropped it in because you mentioned the workshop. So I'm like, let me go and get that.
So spicy, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember in the beginning when we talked about showing up online powerfully as you? This is that worksheet to be able to do that.
Can they do this worksheet and bring it along to the free workshop?
Sure. Bring it along. Just figure out where you are, right? Like some of you are going to be at, and basically it's like you start at the curator stage, like I said, where you, for example, if I'm doing marketing, I would just go Google News and find like marketing snap bits on Facebook or Instagram or Clubhouse and put it in and be like, look, Clubhouse is going up. And I'm trying to associate myself with that knowledge, right? What we're trying to do is I'm trying to get you away from that, because what did I talk about in the beginning? You have a superpower and you matter, right? You matter not just to yourself, not just to your family, but to the people who need to work with you. Because if you don't put yourself out there, they don't know who you are. And they're going to be stuck in purgatory forever unless you fix it, right? And so this is your guide on how to get yourself out into the world, because it is so important. Hi, Krista.
Yeah, Krista was just saying that your workshops, James, I've also been to one of your workshops and it was phenomenal. And that was a paid workshop and it was worth every single penny. So this one that James is sharing, guys, is free. So I would really encourage you to go along and check it out. So Chris was just saying it's incredibly valuable. He attracts great people. He tracks amazing people. And, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe. And of course, Chris is saying he insists that you implement. And I think that, well, I don't think that's the key, of course, is implementation.
Yes.
So I'm just going to grab that for you again. I would suggest I have given you 2 freebies, right? But you can do one freebie and take it along to the next freebie and get James's feedback. That's what I would do. I would say this. I would go step number 1, grab your action sheet, fill it out, and then bring it along to step number 2 is go and attend the free workshop. James, it's been so much fun having you join me here today. Is there anything else that you would love our audiences, because I know we're streaming into your everyday superheroes as well.
Yes.
Would you like to, you know, do a shout out to your group, invite other ways to come and connect with you?
Yeah, look, use Tanya's link. But I want to give a shout out to the group that I have. There's 18 of them who signed on, who took a risk. And I said, look, I've never done this before. Please join me. And 18 of them said yes. And 16 of them still show up week after week after week to all the calls and all the office hours. And I want to give them a huge shout out, because what you are doing is not easy, right? Growth is not easy. It is not easy to put yourself out there in your vulnerable self. It's not easy to build a business. And by the way, a number of them, you know, we go through emotions as a group, and that's the truth, right? There's just some emotional people. It is because you are trying stuff that is difficult. So shout out to you for continually doing it day after day after day, right? Kevin Hart had a really good, I don't remember, I'm going to butcher this one, but he said something like, the hardest thing in the world is to have gone to bed yesterday, giving everything you got and not getting a result, and getting up today and working harder and still not getting a result, and doing the same thing the next day. And that, my friends, is entrepreneurship for the first sometimes few years. So if you are working that hard, you will get through it. And there is a reason why these blocks are in the way. So just keep going. And I know you're going to get there. Awesome.
Great advice. So guys, come and check out James's workshop. I've got it there for you. bit.ly. It's really hard because it's not mirrored. You're doing better than me. James Superhero Workshop. So go and check that out. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Guys, yeah, look, thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to have you back again at some other point to discuss some more marketing, maybe some seasonal marketing as we get into some holidays, maybe some, you know, some Christmas marketing taboos, and maybe even, James, I do love this one, so I'm going to throw it out there, marketing trends of 2021 and what you foreshadow as being hot in 2022. So you've got, so I just throw that out there. Love to have you back on to discuss that.
Yes, that sounds like fun. Look, I had a great time. Thanks for taking the time, Tanya. I really appreciate it.
Total pleasure. Thanks so much. Take care, guys. See you next week. Same time, same bat channel. Have an awesome week.
Bye.
Bye.